Warning. The following episode contains graphic depictions, discussions of death and mutilation, discussions of violence, and presentations of otherworldly horror. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to the Foundation. So, in your previous lesson, we began our stories about the Antimemetics division and the experiences they have had. Why we have access to these files, I do not know, but they work for your lessons. That being said, I've run into probably the most expected problem for these recordings. You see, the recordings of the last 3 parts of the Antimemetics files got corrupted and can't be shown yet. Worry not, we will continue them, but that requires contacting the old voice actors and setting up time to make sure we do a good job in preparing your lesson. It also requires us to sit down for many more hours to record them again. Now, you will get your lessons, don't worry about that, but I need some time to repair this damage. So today, I'm going to treat you to the next series that I wanted to cover. It's a series of tales outlining the experiences of one Max Lombardi, a Foundation member who has seen and experienced a lot, even when compared to a site director like me. These tales are all written by him throughout his experiences. These include his own precise memories or stories about his coworkers, compatriots, or even just conversations he had once upon a time. He words it himself like this: "So, you want to join the Foundation? Think you know what it's like after reading the reports? Pal, you don't know the half of it. I seen shit you wouldn't even believe if your mama told you it in Sunday school. Name's Max Lombardi, and I've been an agent for 10 goddamn years. You want to know what it's like? Let me tell you about it." Now, I don't usually do this, but Max has a history of profanity that is far beyond what I can show in these lessons. I know that these lessons have been no strangers to swearing before, and we've been quite comfortable with it, but there's a point in which it no longer adds to the experience and simply runs the risk of getting this whole lesson series disapproved by the O5, and I don't particularly want to risk that. So please forgive me if I do a little bit of censoring or leave out some words if you happen to have access to the text form of these files. And as a final note, all of these tales about Max Lombardi were originally written by a user of the name Dr. Everettman and cataloged on the SCP wiki by a user of the name TroyL. So, full credit to him for the work that he's put in. Anyways, we have 9 stories to go through, and in these stories, I'm going to be attempting to present the voice of Max Lombardi himself, so understand that you'll hear shifts in tone and volume in my own presentations. Anyways, let's begin. Our first tale is titled Urban Legends.
Don't talk to me about no urban legends. Jesus, in our line of work, you think you know better. What do I mean? I mean, they ain't just stories. Fine, some of them are. I mean, sure, no gangbanger's gonna shoot you just because you flash your headlights, but a lot of them ain't. Why don't nobody hear about them? Well, why don't they hear about no skips? We ain't the ones dancing in this here party, you know. And no, I ain't full of shit. Look, I'll tell you how I know they're real. Okay, so, this was a while back. I was out hunting elves in Jersey. What? They were short and had pointy ears and squeaky voices. That's good enough for me. Were they really elves? Well, probably not. Sure as hell didn't bake no cookies. Do I give a shit what they're really called? No, I do not. Anyways, don't interrupt. So I'm off duty, having finished up for the day. I go drinking at a dive in the bad side of town. Reminds me of home, right? So there's this broad. She's cute and I buy her a drink. One thing leads to another and I go back to her place. No, it ain't professional, but what do you care about what I do in my off time? Jesus. So we have some drinks and make some small talk, and I suddenly find myself crashing Arter and Buddy Ollie on the Big Bopper. Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. Thing is, the bit where you wake up in a bathtub with ice, yeah, that's bull. Yeah, they're taking your bloody kidneys. Why do they care if you live? You're just some rando who can point them out in a lineup. Best if you don't ever turn up. Yeah, I'm still alive, thanks for noticing. You might notice something they didn't account for proper like. I'm a big bloody guy. 300 pounds and a hair under 7 foot. There's a whole lot of me, and it takes a lot to take me down, and even more to keep me down. I wake up with this real bad pain in my side. I open my eyes and there's a bastard with a scalpel opening me up. I put a stop to that real bloody quick, believe me. I was a bit woozy, but I'm a trained Foundation agent. They were a whole bunch of amateurs. It went down about how you would expect. So don't talk to me about no urban legends. Anyways, keep your eyes open. This bastard with the hook is going to show up sometime.
Next up, grasp on reality.
Let me tell you about reality benders. First of all, we like to call them Bixby's. Why? One, in case somebody accidentally says something in front of a civilian, it doesn't tip them off. Second, if you're talking to a reality bender, they might not know all they can do, and you don't want to give them any ideas. These bastards are dangerous. You see one, you do not engage unless you absolutely have to. If you do have to, be polite. Try and think happy thoughts, and maybe you'll have a good day. Probably not. Whenever you can, let the experts deal with them. We don't try and contain them. Most of the time. Yeah, Foundation don't usually work that way, but we like to have a world to live in. So on this point, we usually agree with the GOC. Better they're gone. Okay, so you're fighting somebody who can do pretty much anything. How do you stop them? Well, first off, they can't do anything they ain't thought of. Like, they can maybe all read minds, but if they ain't thought about doing it, don't know they can, then they're not gonna try it. Remember, they're not smarter than you. They might be able to do things different, might know things you don't, but they're not smarter. Second, they gotta concentrate. We had one asshole. He decided he was gonna know about everybody watching him. Bastard killed 20 of us before we had a bunch of us just rush him. Couldn't get all of us, you know. Which kinds of Bixby's are the worst? Depends how you mean. For my money, it's a kid Bixby. Almost always ends with a bullet. Sniper can usually take him out pretty easy, but actually killing him? You show me a guy who's just shot a 3-year-old, and I'll show you somebody with some damage upstairs. There are worse things you'll do for this Foundation, but it's not a lot. Now the hardest to take down, usually somebody around their late teens and early 20s. Much younger and they don't know enough to do as much harm. Older than that, they don't got much flexibility in their thinking to try anything real out there. Late teens, early 20s, they're going to experiment. They're going to try anything that springs to mind. They're not going to be slow and careful in figuring out what they can do. We get one of them, we pull out the big guns. Now, it don't always end with us killing them. Sometimes, especially older ones, we can talk with them. A little. Convince them the world ain't worth it. Get them to move on somewhere else. A lot of them will even do it on their own. So far, ain't one of them ever come back. No one knows just why. Maybe the world really is that much of a shithole. Or maybe something's eating them. I don't know. Anyway, now you see what I mean when I say a giant turtle ain't no big deal, even if it's spitting fire on us.
The next one is called property values.
I'm real sorry about all this. I knew I was in trouble as soon as Burns shot your daughter. Oh, hey, quit crying. She'll be fine. He's a lousy shot. Anyways, I'm real sorry about your dog. I mean, it did bite my leg, but I guess it wouldn't have done that if I hadn't been beating it with the lamp. Hey, good news there. Lamp still works. Little duct tape, and it'll be good as new. Those ropes too tight? Sorry. I'd loosen them, but we don't want you getting up and trying to escape. There's been enough screw-ups tonight, don't you think? The guy you should be pissed at is your neighbor. Bastard switched the house numbers. Might have known we was onto him. You want to know what this is all about? What the hell? Ain't like you're gonna remember any of this tomorrow. See, a few months ago, there were some murders. Yeah, you read about them. Skinned alive. That's a bunch of bull right there. You ever skin somebody alive? They wriggle everywhere. Oh, now look at what you've done. Never throw up when you're gagged. Here, let me clear your mouth. Now, you scream, and we're gonna have to break another finger. Okay, there you go. That's good. Right in the bucket. And now the gag goes back on, and you still got 8 good fingers. See how this works? And just kidding about your finger. I'd have just shoved the gag back on. You've suffered enough for one night. So where was I? Oh yeah, skinning people alive. Hard as hell. That bit was made up in the papers. Sounds a hell lot more exciting. Nah, he'd cut their throats first and then skin them. Anyways, 20 years back, there was another case like this, back east. There's a few folks who talked about it, but they didn't think there's a connection, on account the guy there was caught. But check this out. The guy said he needed to eat the skin to live. How does he end up dying? Malnutrition, even though he gets 3 meals a day. So we look into it, and the guy had a kid who moved out here. Yeah, your neighbor. So we come in, do some checking up, and once we did, it came pretty clear that he did it. Unfortunately, it looks like he got wind of us and skimped out with the last little screw you got in the bargain. So we got guys tearing up his place to figure out where he went. Oh, we'll find him. Don't worry. He's sloppy. He's gonna screw up eventually. Anyways, get comfy. We got someone coming here who's gonna make you forget everything that happened. Tomorrow morning, this will just seem like it was a botched robbery. We'll even set you up to look like a hero. Saved your family. How's that? By the way, how's the rent around here? Seems like a nice neighborhood.
The next one is titled Nobody Knows.
Well, shit. Yeah, I'd say you got the bastard. They don't get much more dead than that. Okay, calm down. You're not going to get D-classed. Breathe, kid. Here's what happened. You're not the one who shoved him off the building with a live grenade. You were doing your honest best to follow orders and take him in alive. And you're doing just fine too, until nobody killed him. Well, yeah, obviously someone killed him. I meant nobody. The person, or people, or whatever. You heard of nobody, right? Yeah, that one. Does mysterious stuff. Helps or hurts us, and then he disappears. He's the one who did. Understand? Now, no, it's not exactly lying. Okay, so it is lying, but it's lying to cover your ass, which is practically a moral obligation at this point. Look, you're new, so I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Everybody wants things to be simple. They want the world to make sense, even the higher-ups. Sure, they know the world's messed up, but they want it messed up in a way that they understand. Things out here in the field, they get messy. Sometimes we gotta do things that they wouldn't understand. And sometimes we make honest mistakes. The higher-ups don't want to think that sort of thing happens. We're their hands and eyes. We go out and we fix problems for them. And so far as they're concerned, we always do it the way they want. Like, sometimes maybe you end up needing help from outside. We all know the other guys in the GOC or the MC&D or, hell, even in the CI. We trade favors when we have to, but the higher-ups, they wouldn't understand it, and they'd screw it all up. Or maybe they want us to take in something alive that turns your blood to fire by looking at you, and never mind how you're supposed to get it done. We do what we gotta do. We try to make the mission go through. Sometimes that means we gotta do things they wouldn't like. Sometimes it means we cut our losses. And then, when you write up the report, you gotta make everything nice and neat, in a way that the higher-ups understand. That's where nobody comes in. Everybody knows that nobody does shit that doesn't make sense. Sometimes he helps us and gives us information and works with us. Sometimes he comes in and screws it all up. The higher-ups, they understand about nobody. They don't like him, but they accept that he exists, and there's not much we can do about it. So, when we write up these reports, he's real handy for tying up loose ends. At the end of the day, the mission gets done the best we can do it, and the higher-ups get a story that they can swallow. So, kid, you didn't do it. You tried to take the skip in alive, but nobody got in the way. Said some mysterious crap, I'll come up with that, and then left before we could stop him. Maybe jumped off the rooftop. He does stuff like that after all. He's nobody. Is he real? I don't know, kid. Ask him yourself sometime.
The next tale is titled Going My Way, where the GOI in going is capitalized, representing groups of interest.
Okay, so what happened is... No, sir, I would not lie to you. I will contain myself to purely the facts. Yes, sir? No, sir, the squid was factual. I have pictures. No, sir, there was no squid at the village. Anyway, so we were waiting for the skip to show up when those gawk bastards showed up. Forgive my language, sir. I did not know you were sensitive, sir. I will try to be delicate in the future. Anyway, the gawks. They showed up. They were trying to be sneaky, but we spotted them pretty quick. Black is not a good camouflage color. I don't care if it's dark, you want some gray in there. Break up your outline. Of course, this was just before Johnson sneezed. Yes, sir. I will be sure to mention it to him at his wake. I'm sure his widow will be appreciative of the constructive criticism. There were a few shots fired, but no casualties then. More in the way of a handshake. Yes, sir. I'm aware that I do not have sufficient authority to initiate hostilities with a group of interest. We were just shooting at each other, friendly-like. The Gawk commander inquired as to the nature of our business there, and suggested that it might be best if we left the disposition of the skip to them. I suggested that, instead, it might be best if they find another skip to kill, as we had prior interest in the one expected to soon arrive. The conversation moved on, and he inquired as to the health and quality of my sexual partners. I responded with politely worded questions as to whether or not his mother had studied the field of animal husbandry, as he looked like someone with farming blood. The warmth and politeness we showed each other, sir, it would melt the cockles of your heart. Our palaverin ranged to many subjects, what are not going to germane this discussion. Therefore I shall not speak of them further, except to mention that my men have a much larger vocabulary than what I would have previously credited them. They truly are a credit to the Foundation. It was after about 5 minutes of this that the windows started bleeding, and we realized that the skip was getting close. With nary a thought to our own safety, we assumed positions of maximum tacticality for the skip's expected entry, which were, by great coincidence, also mostly covered from the Gawk's positions. Then we found out where intelligence had been screwed up yet again. I'm sorry, sir. I did not realize that you were an intelligence operative. I meant only that despite their great efforts, which surely involved many hours of hazardous duty behind a desk fighting paper cuts, they missed the fact that this bastard ate light. Excuse me again, sir. I meant this fascinating and no doubt valuable specimen ate light. Anyway, it went pitch dark. The Gawks were apparently fully aware of this ability, a fact I mention only as a curiosity, what you might mention to your erstwhile colleagues in Intel. They had night vision goggles, and seemed to feel that they were fully equipped to deal with said skip. I can only speculate based on their screaming that they were not briefed of its vulnerability to silver, so, some things are universal. Anyway, we started firing blindly in the direction of the noises. Yeah, I think we probably killed a few of them, but you didn't hear them. Trust me, I don't think they would have complained. After, we did some cleanup and pulled out. If the Gawk's angry, well, they jumped into our op. They knew the risks, same as us. If it had gone a little different, we'd have been the ones scattered across Angola. And it wouldn't have been their fault neither. Excuse my French, sir, but shit happens. So who won in the end? Well, most of us didn't die, but we ended up terminating the skip. So, call it a draw.
The next one is titled Relation Skips.
It don't pay to get too close to anyone in our line of work. They tell you that all the time, but you will though. We're stupid like that. The first time you're in real danger, you should be thinking, gosh, I'm in constant threat of my life. A relationship would be a distraction and not fair to the other person. Unfortunately, you are made for passing on your genes. First time you're in any real danger, every part of your body, every fiber of your being is going to say, I almost died. Commence to having sex. This is because your body is an idiot. It thinks you're still a primitive human in the Great Rift Valley, and the danger it has in mind is a leopard coming to eat you, so it wants you to make a replacement, and fast. So you're probably going to ignore all of this advice. You're going to find someone else, maybe a cute girl you meet downtown, or God forbid another agent. You've seen the videos, you've heard the stories, you know how we can end up. Imagine that's someone you care about. Yeah, that's fun. Now, the Foundation ain't gonna tell you that you can't have a relationship. The higher-ups ain't that stupid. Never give an order which ain't gonna be followed. Instead, they send you up to counseling. They hope you can change your mind. Hey, you know what they play in the counselor's lobby all the time? Old Yeller. Yeah, that's the subtlety and understanding we've come to expect from the Foundation. But, like I said, it doesn't do much good. You're probably gonna do it anyway, and I'm just hoping maybe one or two of you is smart enough to listen. The rest of you, though, are gonna get busy. Maybe get married, maybe have kids. Best case scenario, the stress of the job drives you to a divorce. Worst case scenario, one of you has to put a bullet into the other one, because it's the kindest thing left. And God help if you ever fall for a skip. Seriously. Don't do that. Was I ever married? Yeah. Once. Her name? I don't remember her name. They won't let me. I think she was beautiful.
Our next file is titled Trick or Treat.
Hey pal, nice costume. Yeah, I like the way it's just your face with a couple of strings attached. Okay, that's far enough. Yeah, it's a real piece, so why don't you come along all quiet-like? That's the ticket. Just over here and we can have a little talk. So, the reason I'm here is, hey, stop that. It ain't gonna work. We had plenty of time to figure out what it was that you did, and we got a fix for it. So you can just relax. You're collared. So you might as well find out who by. Anyways, the reason I'm here is that I'm part of a group what contains objects or people what are of an unusual nature. Yeah, like yourself. Sucks to be you, I know. Now, you could try to run, but this gun will stop you before you get too far. It won't kill you, but you'll get hell of a headache when you wake up. This will drop a horse and, well, you weigh a hell of a lot less than a horse. So I came here to find out if the rumors were true, and there really was something near a match in your description. We saw you a couple of days ago, but I figured we'd see you out in the town tonight. I always liked Halloween. I could have any face I wanted. You got a face like mine, and you look forward to wearing a mask, so I sympathize with you. It's the only time in your life that you can go out and socialize. Anyway, we've just been waiting for you to come out when we can nab you. My partner's watching us, and pretty soon we'll go for a ride in our van to your new home. It ain't fair? Yeah, I know. I get that a lot, and you're right, it ain't. This were an ideal world where we could all live in peace, but unfortunately, you and me were born in a cold bastard of a universe which doesn't care about fairness or justice. All we got is the best we can do. Your ma? I'm sorry, kid. We can't go back to see her. I'll make sure to get someone to talk to her so she doesn't worry too much. Honestly, she's probably not going to remember the whole lot of this. It's one of the things we do, but we'll make sure she's okay. You got my word. Hell, tell you what, we bring you in, we'll say you agreed on condition that we get some cash to her. Make sure she's nice and comfy for the rest of her life. The higher-ups will buy it. First lesson for you. Skips who cooperate have life a hell of a lot easier than the ones who fight back. They get what they want pretty much no matter what. But you can make things easier on them. They ain't stupid, they'll reward good behaviors. And I can't let you go, kid. You're in too deep. Yeah, you say you won't hurt nobody, and I believe ya, but we ain't the only ones out there. There are other folks in this game, only they don't want to keep you contained. They want to kill you, or worse, turn you into a weapon. They could make you hurt people. I've seen it done, and they'll hurt people to get to you, people like your ma. See, there's a lot of threats out there. Some of them are people, some of them are things that would destroy the world if we let them. I've seen what's out there, and it ain't friendly. Some of it's wonderful, some of it may help us, but some of it sincerely scares the shit out of me. and I don't scare easy. There are so many things out to get us. Somebody's gotta be on humanity's side. Nobody's on your side? Yeah, but I'll tell you what. You have any real problems, you think you're being treated too cruel? Tell your guard to get a word to Max Lombardi. I don't got a whole lot of pull myself, but I can maybe get a word in the ear of someone who does. Ain't gonna promise nothing. Nobody's gonna make everything right, you know. We just do the best that we can.
Our next tale is titled Command Performance. Now, as a bit of background, this tale opens up in mid-combat, and I don't have much of an ability to put combat into these lessons. So I'm going to start a few lines in. If you happen to have a transcript recording of this next bit, then go about 5 or 6 lines down.
Shin, get the blast doors, pull back. Okay, we've got some breathing space. Let's see the damage. Kimura, you're gonna be okay. I've seen worse. Just lie back a few. We'll see to you. Alright, hunker down, you assholes. Sir. Orders? Sir? Boys, secure the perimeter. Me and the captain need to have a chat. Sir, you gonna be okay? No. Excuse me. With all due respect, sir, you are gonna be okay. Because my boys are counting on you to get us out of this. So what are your goddamn orders? Okay, get things secured. I'm gonna do that. You just get your head right, okay? First time on a big hunt like this, you're bound to get a little freaked. It's okay. Jones, Hamoudi, report. Backup power is gonna last at least another hour. Plenty of time. Don't worry, we got this. Ain't we the baddest boys in the land? Keep your eyes sharp, keep your heads down, and we'll make it okay. Jackson, how's Kimura? Okay, just stick with him as long as possible. We'll keep you covered. Don't leave him alone until... well... he shouldn't ought to be alone right now. Zimmer, keep working on comms. We gotta figure out what the rest of the site's up to. See if they're working on power or if we're on our own. Alright, Captain. How you doing? Look, did you think this shit was gonna be easy? I'm gonna be frank with you. This is what the real world is like. This is what me and my boys deal with. You wanted combat experience? This is it. You maybe thought you'd just keep your head down and get enough experience to get promoted, but that ain't just gonna happen. You're in this unit, you get in the blender just like the rest of us. So here's the situation. We ain't seen insurgents like this since the first attack. We've heard lots of gunfire though, so whatever they're after, they ain't got it yet. I think they're on this level, but I can't be sure until we've made combat. The ugly bastard's trying to get through the blast doors, but I don't think it'll manage for a while. Even when the aux power goes out completely, the blast doors will be sealed shut. However, I don't want to count on it being stopped cold. More, if it can't get through this way, it's going to go somewhere else. Maybe get away. Aux power is going to go down in maybe 45 minutes. It will have even more breaches. We need to get the power back online and keep its attention so it doesn't try to get off-site. Once we got power, the automatic system should let us trap it pretty easy until help arrives. So, what are your orders? Sir, we can't set off the bloody nuke. That's a last bloody resort. Even if we get a major breach, we ain't the only assets in the area. Site 34's... No, sir, we haven't been able to contact them, but that's because we're underground and the comm system's out. Yes, I'm sure they're... Yes, sir. Yes, I understand. I'll give the orders. Jones, your squad's going with the captain. You gotta get him to the shelter. Take him through the tunnels. It'll take longer, but the bastard can't fit through there, so you should be safer. Keep your heads down, though. We got insurgents running around, and God only knows when else they ought to let out of their cages. The rest of you are gonna move down to Hall 42. Make a russus, get Fugly's attention. Be sure to shut the blast doors as soon as it gets close. Barnes, you're with me. Yes, Captain? No, sir. I ain't going with you. I'm gonna go make one more try to fix the power, and then I won't get into the shelter until every last one of my boys is there. Yes, sir. I see. I still ain't going. Don't give that order. We'll both regret it. Thank you, sir. I'll have power back up by the time you get to the shelter. I don't, then you can think about setting off the nuke. So after that, me and Barnes, we went to get the power turned on. It was a long shot, but the captain wasn't going to wait for my boys, so I was going to give him the best chance possible. Yes, sir. I know I places with my men, especially with our commanding officer out. But I'm an engineer. I was the only one who could get the power running. Like I said, the best chance they had. Barnes was with me with every step. Well, almost every step. Yes, I did leave him, but it was for 10, 15 minutes tops. I had to get some breakers reset, and I needed him watching the doors. Anyways, it took us some time, but we got the power back on. Once we did, we were able to get Ugly contained pretty easy, and the reinforcements from Site 34 cleaned up the insurgents. Jones told me he was ordered by the captain to cover his retreat down the tunnels after he got pinned down by insurgents. We found the captain dead in the shelter. Never got to the button, doesn't look like. No, sir. I didn't know the shelter's cameras were working. What'd they pick up? Tall bastard in a trench coat. Sounds like nobody. Wonder what he was doing there. I'll talk to security, get a rundown of everything missing. No, sir. I don't know how he got through all of us. I'll talk to the boys and see if anyone saw anything. Take it from me, though, I bet they didn't. You didn't see nobody unless he wants you to see him. Almost like he was trying to make a point or something.
And now we have reached the final story about Max Lombardi, titled Hiccup Jacet.
It's funny. I always tell my boys, don't give your life for the Foundation. Make sure some other bastard gives his. But here I am. Bloody hypocrite. That's what I am. But nobody ever promised me retirement, so that's okay. I figure I got another 10 minutes before they make it through the door. Closest backup is 50 miles away, and I know Barnes ain't gonna make it to him in time. Hey Barnes, if you're still listening, you better make it, you asshole. You hear me? This place is gonna blow pretty soon. There are plenty of safety protocols in one of these plants, but I'm an engineer. I know exactly the wrong things to do and in what order. I don't just know when, but it'll take out a good chunk of the countryside when it does. Wait till after before you come in. There ain't time for anyone to come get me. Nobody's getting out of here alive. If I have anything to say about it, at least. Got one last bullet, and damned if I'm gonna waste it on one of those assholes. So, I don't know who else can hear me. Bastards broke the receiver. But so far as I can tell, the transmitter is still good, so I want to say something to the rest of you. We are the ones who save the world. Not the doctors, not the council, no one else. We're the last lines of defense. The only line, if we're being honest. Remember that. Don't die for the Foundation. Don't fight for the Foundation. Fight for the 6 billion folks who won't wake up tomorrow if you don't. That's worth dying for. Some old fart wants to play with skips? Well, no. You ain't machines. You ain't tin soldiers. You're people. Men and women who do the shit that nobody else can do. And people make a choice. There's a damned big difference between doing the job because you were told to and doing it because it's gotta be done. I don't care if it's the same job. There's a goddamn difference. There's gotta be. What the hell else are we fighting for? I want you to remember, each and every one of you, that you ain't alone, you understand? None of us are ever alone. We got each other. Every agent that's alive is there to watch your back. No matter what happens, you're one of us. Doesn't matter if you're a saint or an asshole. You're family. You got hundreds of brothers and sisters right there in the shit with you, ready to pull you out. And when you're alone, you're still not alone. Every agent who came before, everyone who's coming after you, they're with you. Everyone you've ever trained with. Everyone who's watched your back or complained to you about the meals, they're with you. You carry them with you, so long as you remember that you aren't alone. And you pass that on to everyone you meet. When we die, we deserve to know that we ain't alone. No matter what happens, we got each other. Oh, and one last thing. I'm proud of you. If we ever work together, no matter what else I said to you, I'm proud of you. Even if I ain't never laid eyes on you, just for doing the job, I'm proud of you. It's been an honor, guys. And when you come in, if this don't finish them off, give them hell. From Max Lombardi.
And now that the tales of Max Lombardi are unfortunately concluded, we still have a little bit of time left. So I would like to take this opportunity to tell you another story. This story is titled Radical Acceptance and was originally posted by a user of the name daveyoutool. Let's begin. I thought I seen everything, but it was a goddamn Muppet that broke me. I was the site director of Base 19. I thought my senses were completely dulled by some of the ultra-violence I'd seen over 30 years of service. Someone stole SCP-447-1 and hid it in a morgue. I had to tear open an unsuspecting junior researcher's ribcage to gain access to the encrypted data drive because somebody decided to get edgy with the emergency response procedures of a Keter. On a gamble, we neutralized SCP-2317-K by drilling a barge load of poison into its skull before it could wake up. Even then, we were on the way out. The Sarkic cults had managed to summon a creature that they thought was the Grand Karcist Ion, but hell if I know. Someone forgot an accent mark on the unpronounceable magic words. A few millennia has left my memory fuzzy on the particulars. Either way, SCP-37238, Object Class Apollyon, was about to wipe us all out in a millisecond at 11:34 in the morning, December 3rd, 2329. At least we had about 5 years advance warning. All the human race could see the wad of flesh in low orbit, and they knew exactly what to expect when it landed. The world's central government had actually made our transition into oblivion a bit easier. The word radical acceptance was tossed around quite a bit on the airwaves. 5 years of peace. We threw away our money and let strangers sleep in our beds. It was an anarcho-libertarian's nightmare. You'd be surprised how good complete strangers could be to one another when we're all about to move into the same graveyard. December 2nd. I sat in the on-site nuclear warheads room of Base 19, popped open a cold one, and watched some TV on my laptop. Sesame Street. After 360 years on the air, their series finale came on the day before the world ended. I knew they dealt with some pretty heavy topics sometimes. Lead poisoning and Mr. Hooper's death comes to mind, along with that one episode back in 2148 about dealing with radioactive fallout, but at least with all those other very special episodes, there was an element of hope, a promise that something better is coming, so long as we look out for it. This episode was called Saying Goodbye. Elmo heard the news guy say that the whole world was going to go away tomorrow. You scared? Elmo's scared too. I dropped my beer. I closed my laptop. I walked into my office. I screamed. I spent 5 hours browsing through the Foundation archives, most of which had been declassified the week prior to the end, if only to satisfy all our curiosities before we went away. There had to be some kind of way out, even if everyone else had stopped, and at about T-4 hours to XK, I found it. SCP-3319, the Lotus. It was an old global occult coalition project still in its launch base in Canada, and the Foundation got a hold of it after they disbanded in Operation Apoplexy, or however you're supposed to say that. If the world is about to go up in flames from an extraterrestrial threat, SCP-3319 could launch into orbit, unfold all of its, quote, tachyon displacement panels like some kind of flower, and teleport the Earth to far-off, sun-like star somewhere in the Crab Nebula. And here we were, letting this thing sit on ice, all because we had made this ridiculous peace with our doom. Well, that and it was barely functional. Diagnostic testing of the Lotus yielded only a 30% chance of reaching the target star, and a 70% chance of an unintended extra-dimensional juxta-huxta mana something or other, causing all life on Earth to data expunged all the way to redacted. But 30% is better than 0. T-2 hours, I found the launch codes. T-1 hour, I pirated the launch control applet. Sue me. 39 minutes to XK, with MTF Nu 7 knocking down the door of my condo in Baltimore, I launched the Lotus. What I wanted was someone else's sun. What we became was a moon in someone else's sky. And monkey food. God, I never thought I could joke about the first harvesting war, but time really does heal all wounds. And here in Korbanik, time is the best weapon we have. My point is this. In Korbanik, you can't afford to accept what you have been given. That's the quickest way into a Strider's gullet or one of the Elephant King's meat orgies. Perhaps we did die. Perhaps the Lotus took us to where we were going anyways. But this way, we were able to keep our planet, our armies, and our technology. And our clothes, thank God. With these, we had a chance to rebuild. To not accept. When we came to this afterlife, there was no heaven and hell, so we built them. There were no angels, so we trained them. There was no God, so we hired one. Glory to thee, Yalakara. In the higher ranks, he even lets you use lowercase. And now, with the third moon being smelted apart for raw materials, we're the closest thing you're going to get to divine intervention. You are watched. You are protected. And no matter how goddamn frustrating you are loved. President Gerard Neong, 3 Moon Initiative. And finally, I feel that the previous few topics have been very intense. So, on the theme of us eventually returning to the Antimemetics stories that have been mentioned before, allow me to present to you a quick summary for Amnestics, the drugs that the Foundation uses to erase memories. This guide is given to us by a researcher of the name DrChandra, and many thanks to them for the work they put in. As a bit of a foreword, both the Foundation and its predecessor organizations have relied on memory-affecting agents in order to expunge sensitive data from the minds of unauthorized individuals. Though we have generally classified such agents under the umbrella term Amnestics, we have, in fact, used a wide variety of different agents to accomplish this. Many of our commonly used amnestics are themselves anomalous, either in origin or mechanism. The fact that amnestics are frequently anomalies themselves effectively renders them Thaumiel-class SCPs, recklessly handed out to any MTF field agent or researcher who wants them. Furthermore, the collection of these amnestics are either often fraught with danger or otherwise ethically problematic. And the file here includes multiple SCPs about this, such as SCP-3000, 2419, and 3171. Fortunately, neuroscience has advanced significantly since the Foundation was founded, and we have now the means to mass-produce non-anomalous amnestic drugs. In addition to being wholly non-anomalous, the next generation of amnestic drugs is expected to be more cost-effective for the Foundation and boast a better safety profile for their subjects. These drugs function primarily by inducing memory deconsolidation, breaking down the neural pathways responsible for encoding episodic memories. The drugs themselves are encased within specially designed nanoparticles, allowing for the targeting of specific areas of the brain, drastically reducing the amount of drug required as well as the side effects. The O5 Council is currently reviewing proposals to gradually phase out the use of traditional amnestics and replace them with non-anomalous alternatives. In order to facilitate this transition among Foundation personnel, we submit the following revisions to the current amnestics classification system. Please note that all classes of amnestics are now available in oral, inhalant, and intravenous forms for the convenience of amnestics officers, and still retain the taste of batteries and peppermint that none of us can remember but always find familiar. So, here we go. Class A are general retrograde, for erasing recent and or specific episodic memories. While Class A amnestics will technically deconsolidate memories at random, they will mostly affect engrams within the, quote, memory reconsolidation window of 5 or 6 hours, as these are the memories that will be at the forefront of the subject's mind. This is especially true for highly unique episodic memories, such as encounters with anomalous phenomena. While these will be most effective after initial exposure, it's possible to reopen a memory reconsolidation window, allowing for Amnestics officers to trigger and then erase specific memories long after their initial formation. Class B are regressive retrograde, for the incremental erasure of recent memories. Class B Amnestics start by deconsolidating the most recently formed memories first and then working their way backwards. The extent of the memory erasure is dependent on dosage, with a 75 mg dose resulting in approximately 24 hours of memory loss on average. These are ideal for erasing recent memories, older than 6 hours, without having to trigger specific memories. Class C, targeted retrograde, for the removal of specific memories from any point in the subject's life. Class C amnestics are used in conjunction with high-fidelity neuroimaging and transcranial stimulation. Neuroimagers will locate the specific memory engrams within the subject's brain, and upon reaching those specific engrams, the amnestics will be activated through the use of precise, non-invasive stimulation, typically ultrasound or magnetic fields. The benefit of Class C amnestics is that they allow for the surgically precise removal of memories regardless of when they were formed, and are ideal for expunging classified data from the minds of D-class personnel and neutralized humanoid SCPs prior to their release. The major drawback of Class C amnestics is the required equipment's lack of portability. As such, Class C amnestics are most effectively administered at Foundation sites, though mobile amnestics field clinics are currently under development. Class D is progressive retrograde, for the removal of early memories. Class D amnestics are the opposite of Class Bs. They target the oldest memories first and work their way forward, the effects depending on the dosage. As this is a fairly niche application, Class D amnestics are admittedly rarely used, though they are, by design, more potent than their counterparts. It still requires an extremely high dosage to expunge a significant portion of a person's life. As such, the risk of side effects is dangerously high. It should be noted that Class D amnestics only target explicit memories. Implicit memories, namely skills that the individual learned in their youth, will remain unaffected. Class E, Ennui, to induce psychological complacency with the anomalous. To be frank, Ennui isn't actually the proper term for the psychological effects of Class E amnestics. They would more accurately be considered an anti-nostalgia drug. Though they still target the neural pathways for memories, they do not deconsolidate them. Rather, they merely weaken the pathways while disassociating the memory with any emotions, positive or negative, removing any incentive to think about it and thus allowing it to naturally decay on its own. Class E amnestics are most effective in situations where the suppression of the anomalous is not possible, and thus, in order to preserve normality, the anomaly must be perceived as normal. Class E amnestics cause subjects to accept the world as it is, and forget that they were ever any different. Class F, Fugu, for erasing and rebuilding the subject's identity. Or you might also call this fugue, which I will for the remainder of this. As with the old Class F, these amnestics induce a fugue state or dissociative amnesia in the subject. The subject will forget their identity and may either be provided with a new one by the amnestics officer or allowed to develop one on their own. Class G, gaslighting, to cause subjects to doubt the authenticity of their memories. Class G amnestics induce derealization of memories, making them seem fantastic or dreamlike, causing the subject to doubt their authenticity. Standard field Class G amnestics are formulated to target memories of the anomalous, and are best administered when the subject lacks any tangible evidence of their account, and targeting specific memories is generally infeasible. Class G amnestics that target non-anomalous memories, however, are currently under development at the request of the O5 Council, having previously been banned by the Ethics Committee. Class H are anterograde, to prevent the formation of new memories. Class H amnestics prevent the subject from forming new memories, blocking memory consolidation for as long as the agent is in the subject's system. Duration is dependent on dosage, with 75 milligrams lasting for approximately 24 hours on average. Class I are transient, for inducing a temporary amnestic state. Class I amnestics induce transient amnesia by blocking the neural pathways responsible for long-term memories, temporarily preventing subjects from recalling their past. Duration is dependent on dosage, again with 75 milligrams lasting approximately 24 hours on average. Class W to Z represents Amnestics, protection against antimemetic and other mnemonic anomalies. Classes W to Z refer to amnestic drugs, or drugs that prevent or reverse memory erasure, and are most commonly used by the Antimemetics department. Though in function they are the opposite of amnestics, they both work by targeting the neural pathways for memory, allowing for the creation of non-anomalous amnestic drugs. Class W amnestics allow the subject to perceive and retain knowledge of anti-memes, in addition to general memory enhancement. Class X restores awareness of previously perceived anti-memes or suppressed memories. Class Y grants the subject perfect recall for any memories gained during the period of its effect, and a single dose of Class Z renders the subject biochemically incapable of forgetting anything for the remainder of their lives. Class Zs are invariably fatal, with death by seizure typically resulting in a matter of hours. It should be noted that combining amnestic and monastic drugs is not recommended. And that brings us to the end of today's lesson. I hope you found the previous files to be informative and to properly, at least somewhat, prepare you for life at the Foundation. I will see you next week at 9 p.m. Atlantic on CHSR 97.9 FM in the Fredericton region, on www.chsrfm.ca online, or on your favorite podcast platform for your next lesson. And as we close, I would like to thank the people in real life who contributed to the production of this episode. In particular, I would like to first thank Kevin MacLeod, who produced the music that you heard in this episode. All of his music can be found under the Creative Commons with Attribution 4.0 license on incomptech.com. I would also like to once again thank the various SCP authors who were featured in this episode, where all of their files can be found licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution Share Alike 3.0 license on the SCP Wiki.